Long before the kingdoms of men raised their banners, a presence stirred in the shadows, whispered of in dread by angels. His name was Asmodeus, a being of beauty and rage, of desire and destruction. Asmodeus was said to be one of the Grigori, the Watchers, tasked with observing humanity. Unlike his brethren, he grew enamored by mortal emotions: love, lust, jealousy. Legends claim his fall was seductive. He questioned why love must be restrained, why desire must be called sin, and descended from the heavens with aching hunger. The archangel Raphael watched Asmodeus drift toward corruption, waiting for judgment. Asmodeus walked the earth in mortal guise, igniting hearts and fracturing marriages. In the ancient land of Media, a maiden named Sarah had known sorrow. 7 men sought her hand, and 7 died mysteriously on their wedding night. Asmodeus had claimed Sarah, not out of love, but obsession. He would not allow any man to have her, for in his eyes she was already his. The angel Raphael was dispatched to break Asmodeus' grip on Sarah and restore balance. Raphael found Tobias, son of Tobit, and guided him toward Sarah. Asmodeus sensed divine meddling and rose in fury, whispering threats into the winds and poisoning dreams with fear. As Tobias and Raphael approached Media, the tension in the heavens crackled. The final confrontation between angel and demon loomed: love against lust, purity against corruption. As night fell upon the land, Asmodeus prepared to strike. The desert winds howled that night as if mourning the future. In the city of Ecbatana, Sarah lay in her chamber, her eyes hollow with dread. Though her body was untouched, her soul had long been scarred by the invisible chains of Asmodeus. He lingered always, never seen, never spoken, but felt in the cold chill on her skin, in the flicker of oil lamps that died without cause, and in the scent of roses that bloomed only in darkness. And now a stranger came to seek her hand. Tobias, young and unknowing, bore the burden of fate in his blood. But he was not alone, for behind him walked the archangel Raphael, cloaked in human form. Archangel Raphael carried not just a mission, but a sacred weapon: knowledge, a weapon more powerful than any blade, the means to vanquish a demon. Asmodeus sensed the approach and seethed. He rose from the shadows, his form vast and dreadful. He wore no crown, but his presence made kings tremble. His body was like smoke and fire woven together, a tempest of lust and hatred. His eyes, twin pits of molten sin, beheld the world with scorn, and he whispered, "She is mine." But the heavens had waited long enough. That night, as Tobias entered Sarah's house, Raphael instructed him in secret. "Take the liver and heart of the fish," he said, referring to the miraculous creature Tobias had caught days earlier by divine design. "Burn them upon the coals in the bridal chamber. The smoke will draw the demon forth and bind him." Tobias did not question. Love had not yet bloomed between him and Sarah, but trust, faith, and a shared sorrow had laid its foundation. And in that silent understanding, destiny stirred. As the couple entered the room, Asmodeus rose to strike. His laughter, low and thunderous, echoed in the walls. "Another suitor?" he hissed. "Another corpse for the worms?" He moved, swift as nightmare, toward Tobias. But Tobias lit the fire. And the moment the fish's entrails touched the flames, the room split with blinding light. Asmodeus screamed, a sound so terrible it cracked the silence of the stars. The smoke, sacred and ancient, swirled into his form like silver chains. He thrashed, clawing at the walls of reality itself, but it was too late. The binding had begun. Then from the shadows stepped Raphael. No longer hidden in mortal guise, the archangel revealed his true form, radiant, terrifying, divine. Wings like molten silver unfurled behind him, and in his gaze burned justice itself. "Asmodeus," he said, his voice a sword, "your dominion ends here." The demon shrieked and lunged, but Raphael did not flinch. With a single gesture, he cast the demon from the room, through the veil of the world, hurling him across the wastes of time and into the distant lands of Egypt. Bound, exiled, and humiliated, Asmodeus howled into the void, his pride torn and his lust denied. But it was not the end. For though cast down, he was not destroyed. His hatred smoldered beneath the sands. He vowed vengeance, not just against Raphael, but against all that bore the mark of faith, purity, and love. He would return, he swore, in another time, in another form, in every moment of temptation, in every fracture of love, he would be there. And far away, Tobias took Sarah's hand. For the first time, she slept in peace. The heavens exhaled. But in the depths of the earth, Asmodeus plotted. Centuries passed like falling leaves, silent and relentless. The world changed. Kingdoms rose, empires fell, prophets spoke, and scriptures were written. But beneath the soil, buried beneath layers of stone and time, Asmodeus stirred. His exile in Egypt was not a prison of bars, but a torment of waiting. He wandered through the ruins of forgotten gods, whispering into the broken ears of idols. Though bound by angelic force, his essence seeped into the dreams of men. Lust, greed, envy, they became his servants, unwitting and eager. Where love faltered, he grew stronger. In the silken curtains of brothels, in the secret glances of betrayal, in the ink of seductive letters sent in the night, Asmodeus walked unseen. But vengeance was his true desire. He remembered the fire that had burned him, the smoke that had bound him, and above all, the angel who had cast him down, Raphael. The name echoed through him like a blade. He vowed that he would one day tear the heavens with his rage and see Raphael brought low. And so, the demon of lust began to build his empire, not with armies, but with whispers. He taught forbidden magic to sorcerers who summoned him by name. He appeared in mirrors, cloaked in beauty and false promises. Kings invited him unknowingly into their courts, giving in to their basest desires. Temples were erected in his honor, hidden beneath layers of false gods and shadowed cults. His name changed across tongues, Asmodeus, Asmodeus, Asmodai, but the evil remained the same. In secret texts, his hierarchy among demons grew. The ancient grimoires placed him as one of the 7 princes of hell, his dominion sealed over lust. While others conquered through wrath or pride, Asmodeus took his victims softly, wrapping chains around their hearts until they called him master. And in one of the oldest tomes, the Ars Goetia, he is listed as a king of hell itself. Mounted on an infernal dragon, bearing 3 faces, one of a man, one of a ram, and one of a bull, he wields power to cause love, to sow discord, and to answer all things hidden. Yet even with this dread glory, he longed not for power alone, but for revenge. He sought out cracks in the veil between worlds. He tempted prophets in their deserts, priests in their sanctuaries, and virgins in their dreams. Some resisted, many did not, and with every soul that fell to his whispers, his strength returned. But the heavens were not idle. Though Raphael had faded from mortal sight, his vigilance remained. The battle between light and shadow was not yet won. Throughout the centuries, sacred rites were preserved, and the tale of Tobias and Sarah lived on. Not merely as legend, but as warning, a testament to the power of faith against the darkest desires. Yet as the world crept into new ages of steel, of glass, of thought, humanity grew distant from such stories. They laughed at demons, mocked angels, and called the ancient texts fairy tales. And that was when Asmodeus truly began to rise again. He needed no altar now, no fire, no fish's heart. He walked in music videos and algorithms, in the endless feed of distractions. He wore the face of beauty, of sex, of irresistible temptation. And still he whispered, "Love is a lie. Take what you want. You deserve it." Only a few remembered the old names. Even fewer remembered how to fight. But in a small, forgotten monastery in the highlands of Ethiopia, beneath layers of dust and centuries of silence, a young monk unsealed a manuscript no hand had touched in over 1,000 years. A warning, a ritual, a name. And as he read, the air grew cold, and the candlelight flickered violently. Asmodeus knew he had been found. The monk's breath caught in his throat as he read the final lines of the ancient manuscript. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from truth. The text was not a myth, it was a binding, a war diary etched in the blood of angels. It spoke not only of Asmodeus and his lustful dominion, but of a prophecy, a reckoning long delayed, but never canceled. Outside, thunder rolled across a sky with no clouds. Across the world, those sensitive to the unseen felt it too. In dreams, in mirrors, in whispers that bled from the edges of sanity, the presence of Asmodeus grew heavy. Something had shifted, something ancient had been stirred, and he was ready. From the forgotten sands of his exile, Asmodeus rose in a form both monstrous and mesmerizing. His beauty was absolute, so perfect it devoured the will, so divine it turned admiration into madness. Wings like serpents curled behind him, fire coiled around his feet. His three faces smiled, sneered, and snarled in unison. The beast and the king, the lover and the destroyer. "I have returned," he murmured into the world. Cities burned, not with flame, but with desire unbound. Lovers turned to enemies, families crumbled. Temples collapsed beneath the weight of corruption. His influence was no longer a whisper, it was a symphony. But the heavens, though silent, had not abandoned the fight. Raphael descended again, not in glory, but in the body of a woman, an orphan turned warrior who bore no sword, but carried the old names in her soul. She had heard the call, in visions, in signs, in the trembling voices of those who still believed. She traveled from mountaintop to cathedral, from ruins to synagogues, collecting relics, chants, and fragments of truth. She was not chosen because she was perfect, but because she resisted. And in the heart of an ancient battlefield, lost beneath the city of Jerusalem, she faced him. Asmodeus stood tall, clothed in the power of countless sins. Around him danced spirits of lust, wraiths of broken vows, phantoms of pleasure turned to pain. "You are nothing," he said. "A mortal with fragile bones and fleeting faith. Why fight me?" And she answered, "Because you never understood love. You only ever stole it." She opened the book, the same manuscript the monk had uncovered. And as she spoke the words in the lost tongue of Eden, the ground cracked, the sky split, and Raphael's true presence descended once more. Asmodeus howled, not in fear, but in fury. A storm of fire and shadow erupted. Time folded, reality fractured. Angel and demon collided in a clash that echoed across dimensions. And in the center stood the woman, reciting the final verse, the divine sealing of names. Chains of gold and starlight fell from the heavens. They wrapped around Asmodeus, burning his form, unraveling his illusions, stripping him of stolen power. The demon thrashed, crying out in rage, "You cannot bind desire, I am desire." But the angel answered, "You are corruption, you are hunger without end, and you are done." With a cry that shook the bones of the earth, Asmodeus was sealed once more. Not in Egypt, not in dust, but within the hearts of those who remember. For every soul that chooses love over lust, truth over temptation, strengthens the lock on his prison. He is not gone, he waits, but now his name is known, his story retold, and his weakness, resistance, has become a torch passed from age to age. So beware the whispers in the night. Beware the love that devours instead of builds. Beware the charm that asks nothing but takes everything. For in every moment of temptation, he is still there, watching, waiting, and longing to be let in.